Tonight, on this election eve, candidates make a last-minute push as some voters wait in line for hours to make sure their ballots count.
We got to have our voice heard in America.
Plus, new video of an arsonist who burned hundreds of ballots in a Clark County drop box. Then,
it went from, such a great time to disaster in a heartbeat.
A bystander caught in the shooting at the Vancouver Mall recounts the seconds a trick-or-treat event turned traumatic.
And later, a Washington couple shocked to have their wedding catering request denied.
We've never received like that blatant discrimination to our face.
Why they now find themselves defending the restaurant that wouldn't do business with them.
Good evening. Let's get right to breaking news, where tonight Boeing machinists voted to approve a new contract offer. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. This ends a nearly 2-month-long strike that paralyzed the company's jet production and cost the aviation giant an estimated $1 billion a month.
59% of union members approved the contract, which includes a 38% raise over 4 years, a 401k match up to 8%, reinstated annual bonuses, and a $12,000 ratification bonus.
I'm proud of our members. It is a win, very successful win. They achieved a lot, and we're ready to move forward.
The union says workers can return to their jobs as early as the first shift on Wednesday. They have to return to work by the beginning of their shift on November 12th. Despite tonight's agreement, Boeing said layoffs are imminent.
Okay, it is already early election day across much of the country, with the first votes, the very first, being tallied in the tiny hamlet of Dixville Notch, New Hampshire. 3 for Vice President Kamala Harris, 3 for former President Donald Trump.
And that may be a sign of just how close so many of these races are, from the White House to Washington's 3rd Congressional District. Catherine Cook is here now with a look at last-minute campaigning in a rematch that could help decide the balance of power. Catherine.
Christine, this is the race between Joe Kent and Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. If you have a cell phone, you might know exactly what it looks like. Text messages, phone calls, and maybe even knocks at your door asking for your vote. 2 years ago, this race was decided by less than a percentage point. And tonight, candidates and voters were out doing what they needed to do.
There you go. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Election Eve, a parade of brake lights and a ballot box full of decisions.
Thank you.
The Clark County Elections Office was busy. That includes this line of people. Some waited for hours to correct various ballot issues, like signatures not matching. Others were registering to vote.
We got to go down and, handle this. We didn't know the line was going to be We've been down here 2.5 hours.
This was a long process, but we're glad we did it.
It can't be turned into a political football. One of the most hotly contested races on these ballots, Washington's 3rd Congressional District. It pits incumbent Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez against Republican Joe Kent.
It's not raining anymore.
On Monday night, Kent waved signs with supporters in Battleground.
Folks handed us their ballots. We just got through here in the last little bit outside waving, so it's really been just trying to drive turnout, so making sure people have gotten their ballots in, making sure they're verifying that the ballots have been accepted.
Kent says they're checking voter data and calling or texting people who haven't turned in their ballots.
We've gotten a real opportunity, and I think a lot of people want change. People know that things aren't right now, and so it's important that everybody gets out there and votes.
The most important thing is that people get their ballots in.
On Sunday, Gluesenkamp-Perez held her final rally before the election. She urged voters to not wait till the last minute to drop off their ballots.
Like maybe their car won't start, call me. Maybe their kid's gonna be sick.
Look, people want us to be afraid to vote. That's not right. Real patriotism is based on getting our votes in, talking to our neighbors. It's not about unfriending people on Facebook.
Perhaps it's about making friends while waiting in line.
I think that everybody should be out voting.
Why was it important for you to get it right?
Oh, we gotta have our voice heard in America.
Right now, voter turnout in Clark County is sitting at 57%. That's likely to go up quite a bit as ballots are counted. 4 years ago, total turnout was 85%. David and Christine.
Okay, thank you so much, Catherine. When it comes to voter turnout, it looks like Portlanders are lagging behind previous years, and the more complicated ranked choice ballot may have something to do with it. People dropping off their ballots at Pioneer Courthouse Square told us voting was confusing, overwhelming, time-consuming, but important. Instead of picking one candidate, Portland voters can rank up to 6 in the race for mayor and city council.
There were so many people on there that I was like, oh gosh.
I like that there are lots of options, and I like the ranked choice voting.
There was a lot of candidates. I don't think we need that many candidates. I think quality over quantity, and we'll get it better.
Ballots have to be postmarked by tomorrow or put in a drop box by 8 p.m. And take a look at your screen right now. We've got a voter hotline there. If you have any concerns about election integrity, that number right there, 971-673-4111. It connects you with the state attorney general's office.
Meanwhile, given Portland's history with protests turning into or being co-opted into violence, a lot of businesses, especially around downtown, are preparing for that possibility. Some today, as you see, are boarding up their windows or putting fences out around their buildings, while others say they'll allow their employees to work from home over the next few days. And while the city's leaders have unequivocally called for peace, no matter the election outcomes, here's what we heard from some people downtown.
It just shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to go through this all over again.
I think it's overreacting, but it's also property. It costs money. It's cheaper to protect it than it would be to repair it.
It's just the messaging that bothers me a little bit. I would like to be in a downtown where you don't have to worry about putting boards up.
The owner of B. Taylor's, who you just heard from there, says his windows have been smashed 4 to 5 times since the pandemic, and he doesn't want to face the cost of repairs all over again. Hey, be sure to join us on election night with complete coverage streaming for free on both KGW.com and KGW+. Laurel Porter and I will be joined by our political panel to break down the results as they come in for all the key races. Our team of reporters will also be spread out across the region with the latest reaction from all the election night headquarters. Live coverage begins at 7 with the first results at 8. You can download the KGW Plus app anytime on Roku, Apple TV, or Fire TV.
There are 5 statewide measures on the Oregon ballot, but tonight we're taking a look at one voters passed back in 2022. Measure 114 is still hung up in court.
Alma McCarty spoke with a survivor of a mass shooting who is fighting for 114 and its provisions around gun control to finally become law.
Joshua Friedline was 19 years old and 4 days into his sophomore year at Umpqua Community College.
Another professor came rushing into the classroom. You have to go into lockdown right now. There's an active shooter on campus. This is not a drill.
The deadly attack on October 1st, 2015 claimed the lives of 9 people, making it the deadliest mass shooting in Oregon's history. Friedline says the memories of that day and the days following are a blur, but the impact remains.
The feelings always surface maybe a week before your body remembers without your mind even making the connection. And then you make the connection like, okay, that's coming up. It's still omnipresent.
As a survivor, he strongly supported and advocated for Measure 114, banning magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, requiring a permit to buy a gun and safety class to get that permit, and finally requiring a completed background check before a gun can be sold or transferred to the buyer. When it passed in 2022, Friedline called it a relief.
I believe that this legislation, this policy will save lives. And at the end of the day, isn't that what this is all about?
Despite the measure's passage, it never took effect, challenged in court almost immediately afterwards.
This is about the individual right to self-defense and the right to bear arms to secure that right.
And in 2023, a Harney County judge blocked it, ruling 114 unconstitutional. Then last week, the Oregon Court of Appeals heard oral arguments from both sides, the state pushing to revive the measure and opponents of 114 trying to keep it permanently blocked.
We have background checks at the point of sale in the state of Oregon and in all 50 states in the United States. It's actually federal law that you have to go through a background check. This is a second background check. Prophylaxis upon prophylaxis. It's unnecessary.
The appeals court will take likely several months to make a decision here, but this case is expected to make its way to the Oregon Supreme Court. Meantime, in federal court, a judge in Portland ruled Measure 114 doesn't violate the U.S. Constitution, but that case, too, is expected to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. All in all, lots more litigation here before a final answer. David, back to you.
Thanks, Selma. Appreciate the update on all of those cases right now. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines, newly released surveillance video shows the moment someone set fire to a ballot drop box in Vancouver. This is video from C-Tran last week. You see a car drive up to the box early in the morning on October 28th at the Fishers Landing Transit Center. About a minute later, you start to see smoke and then eventually an explosion. Hundreds of ballots were destroyed. Authorities are still looking for the arsonist, who they believe also targeted a ballot box that same morning outside the Multnomah County Elections Office.
The man accused of shooting 3 people and killing one of them at the Vancouver Mall Halloween night was in court today. Detectives say Travis Ward walked into the Vancouver Mall Thursday night, then put on a Joker-style mask before making his way to the food court on the second level. Court documents say Ward followed Jahar Perez before shooting him in the back of the head. Today, we spoke to one of the 2 people injured in the shooting, Brandon Lear, who was there with his girlfriend, her 2 young daughters, and their father trick-or-treating.
I remember holding my chest, but in the midst of going across the main walkway downrange of where the shooter was is when I got hit.
Ward will be back in court Thursday for a bail hearing.
And OHSU has named an interim university president. Steve Statham previously worked as the chief operating officer, the COO, for OHSU's Knight Cancer Institute. The school says it plans to hold a nationwide search for a permanent replacement for former President Dr. Danny Jacobs, who stepped down, he said, for personal reasons. Jacobs had also faced criticism for his response to sexual harassment complaints against other faculty.